You're listening to the Cash Flow Academy podcast with Andy Tanner, your source for investing made easy. Here's Andy Tanner.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andy Tanner. This is where investing is made simple. And wonderful opportunity today for this particular program. It's something that's very, very important to me, and I think it's important to a lot of other people as well. It's one of the questions that I get often is when people are, go to school and they have the dogma, hey, go to school, get good grades, go get a job, invest in a 401k, and try to live happily ever after. Many people get in that rat race and they say, gee, how come I'm not the one owning the business? How come I'm not the one that's building the business? I want to work on the business, not work at the business. And one of the hardest things about entrepreneurship, I think, is just simply getting started. And so we have a very special guest today who's written a book called Angels and Entrepreneurs, a lifestyle formula for starting your own business and riding the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. We're going to have a great conversation today with Bob Schlegel, and his website is www.bobschlegelauthor.com. Bob, welcome to the program, and thank you for sharing some time with us today.
Thank you, Andy. Great to be here.
We're going to hop into your book here in a minute, but at the beginning, let's start off with your story just a little bit. And you're from Ontario, Canada. My wife grew up on a dairy farm in a small farming community, so she knows that hard work ethic that comes from up there on the farm. But talk a little bit about just your life and what brought you to this point to say, hey, I'm going to write a book on this.
Okay, well, I was kind of a troubled kid, or at least I got in a lot of incidents when I was a kid. I broke my neck when I was 5 and talked about Great Danes. My brother pulled me out of that, and my house burnt down, and my brother pulled me out of that house fire. And I always seemed to have angels around that would help me. Sometimes my brother, sometimes my wife, sometimes my mother, my dad, things like that. So I've always had this angel thing in my mind. And along with the power of positive thinking, and Norman Vincent Peale wrote the book, and he basically based it on the scripture verse, I can do all things through Christ into who strengthens me. And that's been more angel, but that's nothing more angelic than that. So I've always had this angel theme. And then as I going to college and stuff, my prof used to say, well, the best way to get ahead in this world is to work your way up the corporate ladder to Fortune 500. And CEOs make a ton of money and stock options and things like that. So I'm thinking, well, that's a great idea, except there's only 500 Fortune 500 CEOs, So and there's 350 million people in North America. So that sort of motivated me to start my own, get into entrepreneurship and start my own gig.
Fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about how people, let's just start here. If someone's listening and they say, I've thought for years that I'd like to be an entrepreneur, own my own business, what would you say step one is? How does a person get started?
Sure. Well, for me, I used the PEP acronym. I think the first thing we need is persistence. If you're not persistent, you're not going to accomplish being a good entrepreneur. You don't have to worry about you don't have to be smarter than your competition, because you're more persistent and work harder. So I think that's the base of the first P. And then education, I think, is so important for everybody. Education is something that I think it's the greatest thing you can acquire. Nobody can take away your education. The bankers, personal guarantees, whatever. Nobody's going to touch your education. It's yours, and you earned it. And that's your best tool to success in the future. And the next P is passion. Passion. If we're not passionate about, if you are passionate about it, about your job and your career, one, it allows you to be more persistent. But most importantly, if you're passionate and love your job, you never work another day in your life. So my environment, just starting your own stuff, I love doing it. So I'm looking back over the last, 40, 50 years. The first 8 years, I was a public accountant, CPA, working for public accounting business, CPA firms. And while you love that, I wasn't crazy passionate about, numbers. But when you start getting your own business, you love doing it. And so the last 40 years of my life, I never really think I ever worked a day in my life. I just loved going to work in the morning and loved going to the office. And just kept working away at that. So, and then, besides, after with passion, is partnerships is probably the next P. All your stakeholders are really your partners, in your company and your business and your entrepreneurship. It doesn't have to be a winner or loser like sports. can be win-win all over the place, So I think entrepreneurship is just a great lifestyle. Changed my life, and I sold several different companies, and it worked out pretty good.
So let's talk about all of those things. First of all, persistence. I liked your subtitle where it talked about riding the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. And I think when people decide they want to start their own business, they say, okay, I want more money. They look at the benefits of it, really. They say, well, it's a lifestyle thing. I want more money. I want more time. I don't want to be told what to do. I want to be the leader. I don't want to be the follower. My taxes get better. I mean, all these benefits. But they really don't realize that when they embark on this, they're really embarking on a journey of personal development. At least that's been my experience, that somehow business finds your weak spots and you're forced to either strengthen them or find someone that can, do something for you to strengthen them. And so that persistence has been a big deal. How do you feel about, has that been your experience in terms of, we'll get to the E of education you mentioned, but, in what ways has it tested you?
Well, certainly, Andy, you're right on there. It does bring out your weak spots. And as you know, over 50% of first businesses, new businesses fail. You have to look at the word fail as first attempt in learning, the acronym for fail, because you don't want to bet the farm in your first business because it's the odds aren't in your favor. So you just have to keep digging away on it and persistently trying new things. Fix it, try it, fix it, try it. And my biggest company, Pavestone Company, I started in 1980. And it took 14 years to get to $10 million in sales. After 14, really to make any kind of significant money, was 94. 14 years after we started, it started cash flowing and confident. We were confident we could continue to expand the processes and continue to grow. If you're not growing in business, you're dying. So, but after 14 years in 1994, it took another 5 years to get to 100 million. So we grew from 10 million to 100 million in 5 years. And then by then we're in year 19 already. We're in 1999 and just getting ready to get rolling. And we got some big customers and started growing 100 million every 3 years. So then by 20 or 22, we're $200 million. And by 2007, 2008, we were pushing $400 million in sales. So we had sold $540 million. And then which would have been nice, we had about $200 million in debt on it. So it would have been very nice for us. We signed the deal, shook hands with the deal in December 2007, and to close in March of 2008. And March of the closing day, we're waiting for the wire to hit the bank. We got a call from the Federal Trade Commission about the Hart-Scott-Rodino. It was an act that the Federal Trade Commission reviews to make sure your business, you're not causing limiting competition. So we got that notice instead of the money wire. We got notice from the FTC deciding we're going to do a second review and look at all the facts and about the marketplace and our competition and our buyer and our customers and that sort of thing. And that happened. That took another year to get an answer back. But next January we got an answer back that it was anti-competitive and they wouldn't let the deal go through. So that was pretty fatal. And if you recall, by then 2008 was the start of the Great Recession. It was not a good time to be in business. And our sales, well, building supply companies were down by 80%. Building this came to a screeching halt. We made landscape products. It was down. We thought only down 10% a year, but it was down 10% for 2008, 2009, 10, 11. So by 2011 and 12, we've been down 20-30%. So that got pretty ugly. And by then, with the bankers were out, we never missed a money payment to any banks or anything, but we bust all our covenants, the EBITDA coverages and cash flow coverages and things like that. So we had to look at all the options there and start over again, kind of, and really assess what was going on in our lives, in our career. The bank had asked me to personally guarantee something about 3 years earlier, small chunk of the $200 million. So it got really quite discouraging and quite ugly, and started to question my own. It's one of those roller coasters. It was the bottom of the roller coaster for sure for me, Andy.
Yeah, when you go into business, it's always excitement. It's time for enthusiasm. We're going to start a new project. And it was interesting that it was a legal issue that kind of started the first roadblock in that story. And there's so many things to cover and to think about. And it's a litigious society and all this stuff. You mentioned persistence, then you said education. They don't teach entrepreneurship in school well. I know of one young man I was speaking to a couple of days ago, and he's enrolled at a university, and his major is entrepreneurship. And I think I might interview him sometime to just find out what in the world do they teach, because I don't know of any entrepreneurs that teach at the university. Really, a lot of people that teach, talk about concepts, but it reminds me of that old movie, Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, right? Where a true entrepreneur goes back to school. Where does a person get education for entrepreneurship, or is it the school of hard knocks every time?
I just used to say that. Went back to my school, Wilfrid Laurier University in Canada, in Waterloo, Canada, and actually created the Schlegel Center for Entrepreneurship, which teaches entrepreneurship to kids. It gives them at least gives them the option, so they know it's there. And it's turning out they have resident entrepreneur all the time, and the kids actually take courses. So a lot of schools now, universities in America also are taking a lot of them have entrepreneurship specialties and resident entrepreneur in residence, that sort of thing. So it's working.
Do they work?
We're messing it out there. I've invested in a couple of my things from the school in Canada, but the startups are hard and everything's hard. But it's at least kids are getting into it and they're experimenting with different ideas. And I'm also grateful for the education. I'm a great believer in Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours experience.
Yeah.
Whether you want to be a hockey player or an entrepreneur, it's great to work for somebody else even your own kids before they come to a job working for you or in your own company. Have them get their 10,000 hours in with in some other field, even a competition field, or where they learn the business through somebody else's eyes and just learn the discipline of going to work in the morning and doing things all day long and working how to deal with customers. The most important thing in the business, any business, entrepreneurial startup or anything, is customers. You got to have customers who want to do business with you. Sam Walton said, so if customers are buying your product, you got a viable business. If they're not, you don't. And
I will tell you, I think there's certainly an academic part of what to do each day, I suppose. We need to know what to do. But I'll tell you, for me, entrepreneurship has been so much more about personal development, in the education is certainly part of that. You learn things along the way. But stamina and drive and competitiveness and toughness and the intangibles you often see in sports, the ability to work hard and deal with pressure. There's a lot of attributes about being an entrepreneur that beyond what I think you would get from a book myself, and that's an opinion. I think an important part is to have a purpose and to know what your values are before you start into this, because when things get tough, if you don't have a mission and a purpose and have values set aside, I think generally just the competitive nature of business, and you mentioned a couple of problems and roadblocks that you faced at a bottom of a roller coaster. The thing that starts to make people keep going is they have a mission driven that is bigger than the money. Has that been your experience?
Absolutely. And the other P in my PEP theory is purpose, passion and purpose. You need the passion to get the purpose. And some purpose gives you the reason to get up in the morning. You want to get up there and get to the office and get calling your customers and everything that goes with that. But it's really you definitely have to have the passion and then love what you're doing and love your customers and to really get ahead. To really make it work. I got a couple of things like they use the KPIs, key performance indicators, a lot to deal and make sure your customers are satisfied with your product. I think every business should be monitoring their KPIs or key performance indicators every day. I get a report every morning. How many? I have a freight logistics company right now. How many loads we ship, what the dollars are, how many outbound calls, how many inbound calls, the cash flow. The most important thing is in a business is customers. Second most important thing is cash flow. If you don't have cash flow, you like to say your heart blood.
It's your lifeblood. Yeah. How is how is entrepreneurship a lifestyle? You say, hey, this is a lifestyle formula. which is interesting. This is a way of life. It's a lifestyle. Sure. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. So I think it's a family lifestyle. In my case, our whole family knows about it. When I drop my kids off at school every day, I used to say, be good, work hard, God bless, I love you. So I think, and that it reflects, so the dinner table conversations have always been about business, how the customers are, what's the growth, how everything's going, and the kids all grew up with that. And as a result, they're all my girls are all bloggers, are working off the web with them. And my daughter also has a hard store called Jojo Mama, which sells kids clothing over the web and in the store. But the other two are just primarily just on the web, making pretty nice livings, being little entrepreneurs on the web now, which has created so many more opportunities for every student. The kids all grew up with that now, and there's millions of people making money making their livings off the web these days.
Interesting stuff. Why is it important for young entrepreneurs to focus on this stuff? I think, like you mentioned, a lot of people are using the web. I use the web. I think it opens the opportunity for anyone to give tools for communication. I mean, it gives you a facilitation for sales. Your logistics improve. It's really it's open for anybody. So why is it important for young people to focus on this and focus on what the legacy will be right now?
I think it's important to get your goals set, moving towards them. I have a thing called the BHAG. Like you've heard of BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals.
Yeah.
Even kids and high school kids should set a BHAG. And I'm a CPA, so I like to do a spreadsheet, and my BHAGs of sort of the right column of my spreadsheet. So you set the BHAG, the goals of say $400 million or $1 billion, whatever you want it to be, whatever is achievable, you think, and then put that out there. If that's your goal for 5 or 10 years from now, then how do you get to it? What's the best way to get to it, and to monitor your business's growth as it gets there. I monitor mine at least weekly and certainly monthly. Often I do it daily, just to see how we're progressing and how many staff we have to hire and the resources we're going to need, bank lines of credit, that sort of thing, to really keep growing towards your BHAG. And I think that's important to have that goal out there. It's from time to time. Every you go to a restaurant now, half the kids under 5 are being entertained with their iPads. So they all, by the time they graduate grade school, college, they're experts on the web and engine searches and Google, and everybody knows about Amazon. So they all can be little Amazon selling their own products over the web. So my girls have certainly developed that, and they're growing their own enterprises with that.
Talk a little bit about the difference between buying in business and building business. So when you start out saying to be an entrepreneur, you can start from scratch and build something of your own. There's franchise opportunities you can buy into. You can purchase an existing business. I had a friend that did that. Warren Buffett is interesting. I haven't done the research, just based on what I do know about him. I'm trying to think of any businesses he actually started. I know he bought Berkshire Hathaway, which was a textile company that he just turned into a holding company. But really, he buys businesses via the stock market, become one of the wealthiest persons in the world without even having the idea to start his own business. He's just bought them. What's your feeling about buying a business versus building a business, and what goes in that decision? Sure.
Well, you're right on there. And if you're right, he's bought everything. And when you have the resources to do it, buying something is always better if you have the capital, because you can save the time of years. For example, it took me 14 years to get Pavestone to $10 million to make. We're making money. If you can buy a business at that level, at several $1 million, for example, it's probably making money. You have employees, you have customers, you have the resources, you have the supply chain and the inventory. And if you can do it, that's a lot better and faster way to get in there. And that's what Warren does, buys a platform company and then grows it from there. But as a young entrepreneur with no money, you have to do a garage type skunk works like Steve Jobs, and really get working on your own resources, from friends and family money, basically, and your own savings, and really do it skunk works and short sleeves, and really build something yourself. You start with customers. Sometimes customers will help you with capital. Sometimes you get a spin-off company, a big company or large company selling a division that they think can't be profitable. If you're working for your company, the company you're working for, spinning off something. Lots of opportunities to get in there without spending a lot of money. Lots of ways right now of raising capital if you have to buy something. And it's sometimes easier to get financing if you have existing cash flow also. So there's lots of different opportunities when you get down to it and search the business opportunity sections of companies and newspapers. And some people still read newspapers, so there's opportunities there as well.
So when a person is let's say a person has no idea, he's starting absolutely from scratch, he has no idea what the business would be, but he feels the drive. How do you find your own passion? Any insights on that to think about how to find that thing you were put on the earth to do? If a person's stymieing a little bit, saying, "Hey, I was raised to be an engineer, and I'm an engineer at my office, and I have no idea what I would sell or what I would do."
Yeah, I think it's all about customers again. But I think the most important thing is set the goal, set the mission, and the BHAG, and with your vision, and work at it from that. And something will come up. You keep talking to friends, and something always develops, pops out at you.
It's an interesting life to decide what you're going to do when you grow up. It's how you're defined. A lot of people say, "Well, who are you?" Okay, my name's Andy. What do you do? And we're defined on how we serve others, really. And that's really what entrepreneurship is how many people can you serve? We've been speaking with Bob Schlegel, experienced entrepreneur, ups and downs, ridden the roller coaster. His book is Angels and Entrepreneurs, a lifestyle formula for starting your own business and riding the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. And a roller coaster it certainly is. Any last words for our listeners before we finish up?
I think a couple things in life. There's always something always goes wrong. You have to treat that as a learning experience. And I have a thing called the GOI, sort of get over it. Every time something goes wrong, or you have somebody is discouraged, or some incident happens, or somebody irritates you, or you did something you wish you had done, or you said something you wish you had said. The moral of the story is the GO. Think of GOI, get over it. Those little things in life, you just got to put it behind you. If somebody does you wrong or a bad relationship, just get over it and get on with things and put it behind you is sort of something I've tried to live by. And because you can't let things get you down, it'll irritate things. Forget about getting even. Getting even is a waste of time and energy. Just get over it and move on with what comes next in your life. Well,
if you're listening and you've ever thought about starting a business, I would say go for it. Don't be afraid of those failures. I like the idea of shooting sometimes before it's ready and aim and fire. I just shoot and, get going. I think failure is the best teacher. That might be the best university, as you mentioned. So we hope you pick up the book, Angels and Entrepreneurs, a Lifestyle Formula for Starting Your Own Business and Riding the Roller Coaster of Entrepreneurship. And perhaps it spurs you and gives you ideas and furthers your education on what you want to do. With that, Bob, thank you so much for spending your time and experience with us and giving insights on the book. This has been Andy Tanner. We've been speaking with Bob Schlegel. We hope that you found some benefit in the conversation. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Cash Flow Academy podcast with Andy Tanner. For more information on investing made easy, go to thecashflowacademy.com.